自分の部屋に大きな窓があるのも嬉しいですが、
窓
自分の部屋に大きな窓があるのも嬉しいですが、
窓
自分の部屋に大きな窓があるのも嬉しいですが。
What's up, guys? In the last 2 weeks, I've uploaded videos talking about how I think that it is a good idea to learn Japanese from anime, and I've also mentioned that I don't think that you should be watching anime with English subtitles to try to learn. I think that ideally you want to be watching shows with Japanese subtitles and then making Anki cards to remember the words and phrases that actually come up in the anime that you're watching. And in these videos, I demonstrated how I kind of had a workflow set up where I could make extremely high quality cards extremely quickly, and I got a lot of questions about how to set this up. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to set up that workflow that allows you to be specific, watch target language shows within Netflix, and then make cards that contain pictures and audios and definitions and just everything that you need to have a really high quality Anki card in a matter of a few seconds per card, probably around 15 to 20 seconds to make one of these high quality cards while you're watching. As you can see, the video is very long because there's a lot of different programs and extensions and add-ons that we need to set up, but all the setup is something you only have to do one time, and after you have gotten everything set up, then after that you're going to be able to benefit from this workflow and just make cards in a few seconds each. And I think that it's going to be a really good investment for any of you guys who take the time to watch this whole video and set up the whole workflow, because once you can start making really high quality cards from Netflix in just a few seconds each, I think it's really going to supercharge your language learning. And just a few more notes before we actually jump into the tutorial. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be assuming that you're on a Windows machine and that you're learning Japanese. And so if you're on a Linux or Mac machine, or if you're learning a language other than Japanese, most of the content of this video is still going to apply, but you might be on your own when it comes to finding some Mac or Linux alternative to some of the programs, and some other languages might not have as much support by some of the programs that I'm showing. But overall, I think that if you're decent with technology, you should be able to figure out how to get everything that I'm showing in this video working on a Mac or Linux machine or on other languages. But if you are learning Japanese and you're on a Windows machine, then hopefully you should be able to set up everything I'm going to show you, even if you're not a very tech literate person, because I designed this video such that you could just follow exactly what I'm doing on screen, and if you do that, you'll be able to get the setup up and running. And to just give a kind of overview of all the things that you're going to need. So you're going to need Anki first of all, and you're going to need 2 MI add-ons, the MI Dictionary add-on and the MI Japanese add-on. You're also going to need the program ShareX, and then you're also going to need Google Chrome, and then 2 Chrome extensions, Yomichan and Language Learning with Netflix. So I'm going to be walking you through how to set up all the different components, and then at the end, I'm going to show you guys how to put them all together and make cards extremely quickly. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first let's get started by setting up Anki. Now to use this setup, we're going to be relying on 2 different MIA add-ons, the MI Dictionary add-on and the MIA Japanese add-on. And because MIA actually develops add-ons in development cycles, we have to make sure that we are on the right version of Anki, otherwise the add-ons may not be compatible. So right now, at the time of the filming of this video, the version of Anki that the MIA add-ons have been designed for is 2.1.22 on a Windows machine and 2.1.23 on Macs. But because we're talking about Windows today, we got to make sure that we are all on version 2.1.22 of Anki. So to find out what version of Anki you have, go to Help, About, and then right here you can see what version you have. So we can see that I am on 2.1.22, so I'm good to go. But if you are on any other version but 2.1.22, then you're going to have to either upgrade or downgrade accordingly to have 2.1.22 on your machine. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the Anki GitHub right here where you can download the 2.1.22 version. And so make sure that you do this before going further in this tutorial. So once you have Anki 2.1.22 installed, next we're going to import the MI Japanese Deluxe card type. So I'm also going to put a link in the description to download this MI Japanese Deluxe Anki deck, but really the deck just contains one card, and the purpose of it is to basically give you a note type that I created specifically for this workflow. So once you download this, you're going to have this Anki deck right here. And if we open that up, you can see it adds one card, and it's just going to say delete this deck because the whole purpose of the deck is just to add the card type to your collection. And so the card itself is just an example.
Word audio, sentence audio.
So we can see that right now there's a little bit of funny formatting right here, but we're going to fix that in a second once we install the MI Japanese add-on. So yeah, this card is just to show you what the note type looks like, so you can delete it, you can delete this deck. The important thing is that it's by importing this deck, it's going to add the MI Japanese Deluxe note type to your collection. So next, we got to install the MI Japanese add-on, because this add-on is what's going to allow us to automatically add furigana readings and pitch accent coloring to our cards. So to do this, I'm going to put a link in the description to the MI Japanese Anki webpage. So you install it like any other add-on. Now, the MI Japanese add-on has a lot of different features, and I'm not going to be showing you most of them in this video. So if you want to learn about the other features and how to set it up fully, because I'm only going to be showing you how to set up the minimum to use this workflow, there is a very in-depth guide linked on the Anki webpage, which covers everything that you could ever want to know about the add-on, including how the pitch accent syntax works and things like this. And so probably it would be a good idea to go and check that out if you're going to be using this workflow in the long term, because I'm not going to have time in this video to go over how the pitch accent and furigana syntax works and things like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and install the MI Japanese add-on, which we do like any other add-on by just copying the code and then going to Tools, Add-ons, Get Add-ons, pasting it in and hitting OK. Now, I already have the add-on installed, so I'm not going to go ahead and reinstall it, but you should just install it and then restart Anki, and you should be good to go. So once you have installed the MI Japanese add-on, there's a little bit of setup in the MI Japanese settings that we want to tweak. So to do that, we're going to go to MIA and then Japanese settings right here. And first of all, if any of these two are checked off, you probably want to uncheck them. Graph on hover front, graph on hover back. I guess that most people will find them a little bit annoying, so you can just turn those off. And so what we really want to do is go over to the active fields tab right here. And we're going to be basically adding the special syntax and special JavaScript code into the MI Japanese Deluxe note type. So basically, if you just follow exactly what I do here, you will get the result that I showed at the beginning of this video. So you want to go to All Profiles in this first dropdown here. In the second dropdown, you want to select the MI Japanese Deluxe note type. So right here, MIA JPN DX. And then it's going to select the next one automatically. And then in the next one here, you want to choose Sentence, keep it at front, and then keep it at kanji, and do Add. And then next, we're going to change front to back, and then change it to colored kanji reading, add. And now we're going to change sentence to word, and then change it back to front, and then do kanji, add. And then we're going to go change front to back, and then change it to colored kanji reading, add. And then we're going to change this to meaning. We're going to keep it on back, and then make this one colored hover. So you want to make your chart look exactly like this one. You should have 5 new rows that you just added. One of them is sentence front kanji. One of them is sentence back colored kanji reading. One of them is word front kanji. One of them is word back colored kanji reading. And then the last one is meaning back colored hover. So you don't have to really know what's going on here in order to use the workflow. As long as you copy exactly what I've done here, you should get the result that I showed at the beginning of the video. But again, if you want to actually understand what's going on here, then check out the in-depth guide for the MI Japanese add-on. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And this should have just modified the note type such that, now we don't have that weird parenthesis thing with the hiragana in it like we had before. And we see that now the card is blue because that represents the Heibon pitch pattern, and that the reading is in the form of furigana. So now this card will be properly set up. And so basically what's happening is if we actually look at the card template, we see that there's a special syntax here. And the way that the MI Japanese add-on works is you can type anything that you want, and then if you hit this button or hit the F2 hotkey for the button, then it will generate this syntax, and then this syntax will be converted into either just normal text if you're on the front of the card, or pitch accent coloring and furigana on the back of the card. Now, some other cool stuff about this card type in particular is it's very flexible. It can be either a vocab card, a sentence card, an audio card, or a text card. So basically, let's say that, this is a sentence, and then that's just word. So by default, it's going to be a sentence card where the sentence is on the front. But if you wanted to turn it into a vocab card, then all you have to do is type anything into the vocab card field, and then it's going to instead put the sentence on the back and then have the front of the card be a word. Now, if you want it to be an audio card, then instead you just type anything into the audio card field. And this is by default going to put the sentence audio on the front of the card. If you want it to be an audio card with the word audio on the front of the card, then you just fill both of these, and that's going to swap them around. And so basically at any point of a card's life, you can change it between being a text sentence card, an audio sentence card, a text vocab card, or an audio vocab card, just by filling or emptying these fields. So it doesn't actually matter what you have in these fields. All that matters is that there is something in them, because the way the card works is that it looks at whether this field is empty or filled and changes the format of the card accordingly. So these are basically just an on-off switch. And so by default, it's going to be a text sentence card. Now, one more quick thing we probably want to set up in Anki before we install the second add-on is that whatever options group setting you're using, don't actually copy the settings I have here, because these are just random. I didn't set these personally. But in the general tab, you want to uncheck always include question side when we're playing audio, because if you don't, then every time you replay the audio with the R hotkey when you're reviewing, it's going to play the audio that was on the front side twice, which is going to be annoying. So yeah, if you just uncheck this when you review, everything should work as you would expect it to work. Okay, so next, let's install the MI Dictionary add-on. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the MI Dictionary Anki web page. And again, you install it like any other add-on. So we're just going to scroll down, grab the number, and then pretend to install it. But really, I'm not going to because I already have it installed. But the thing with the MI Dictionary add-on is it doesn't come with dictionaries, because if we preloaded it with every dictionary available, then the file itself would be too big to host on Anki Web. So we're going to have to actually go elsewhere to grab the dictionaries. Now, we've linked many dictionaries, many open source dictionaries on the Anki web page itself. So if you scroll down to where it says supported dictionaries, there's a mega folder with many dictionaries for many different languages that you can get in here. But for the dictionaries that we want today, I think the easiest way is to go over actually to the Yomichan website, which is another pop-up dictionary, which we're going to be installing later on in this video, and then scrolling down to dictionaries and then downloading jmdictenglish.zip. And so once that is downloaded, then you want to open up that zip file and you want to create a new folder on your desktop called jmdict, and then copy all of the files inside of the jmdict_english zip file into that jmdict folder. Now save this zip file because we're actually going to need it for when we install Yomichan, so I'm going to put that here. But this is the files for the dictionary that we're going to actually install into MI Dictionary. So this jmdict, it's an open source Japanese to English dictionary, but if you want Japanese to Japanese dictionaries, I show you how to get some inside of this video here, how to get 10+ dictionaries for Yomichan. So I'm going to put this video in the description as well. So if you're already monolingual in Japanese or you want to go monolingual in the future, then you should check this out. And so yeah, the Yomichan format for dictionaries is supported by the MI Dictionary. So all of these you can install into MI Dictionary as well. And the way that you do that is, so when you actually download a Yomichan dictionary, it's going to come in a zip file just like this one, but you want to unzip it, take all the files and put them into a folder. And then I'm going to show you what to do with this folder right now. So what you want to do is in Anki, go to Tools, Add-ons, and then select MI Dictionary, and then click View Files right here. And then it's going to open this up, and once the directory for the add-on is opened up, you want to go to User Files, Dictionaries, and then if there's not already a folder for the language, then make one. So you want to make a folder that's just called the Japanese. And then inside of that folder, you want to drag jmdict. So I already have jmdict installed here, but basically to install a dictionary, all you do is take the files from the Yomichan zip and then put them into a folder and put that folder into this directory. Now it's important that it's under user files, dictionaries, and then a folder for the language, and then you put it in there. So if you don't have a folder for the language, it's not going to work. So you have to actually, inside of dictionaries, have a folder for every language, even if you're only learning one language. And then inside of that, put the actual dictionary folder. So make sure that the directories are exactly as I have them here. So again, if you want to put in monolingual dictionaries, then you just take the zip file for the Yomichan dictionary, extract that into a folder, and then put that folder here. So once you drag the dictionary folder in and then restart Anki, then it's going to automatically start importing the dictionary, and importing the dictionary itself might take a couple minutes, but that only happens the very first time you open Anki, and after that there will be no loading time or anything, so the dictionaries will already be imported. And so yeah, once you have installed either just the JM dictionary or the JM dictionary and other Yomichan dictionaries, then we're going to be ready to actually go into the MI dictionary settings and set things up. So to do that, you want to go to MIA and then go to dictionary settings. And so I already have my settings here, but what you want to do is first of all add a new dictionary group. And you can call this dictionary group whatever you want, but just say we're going to call it Japanese. You can select whatever font you want. I like Yomichan. And then I recommend selecting JM Dict. Well, depending on what you called that folder, it's going to change the name here, but whatever you called the JM Dict, select that first, and then have Forvo second, and then Google Images third. Now, of course, if you're also going to be adding monolingual dictionaries, then you can add those in as well. So then hit save for the dictionary group, and then we also are going to be making an export template. So hit add export template. We can call it, I'll just call it JPN, the MI Japanese Deluxe. And then so for note type, choose MI Japanese Deluxe. For sentence field, choose sentence. For word field, choose word. For image field, choose image. For audio field, choose sentence audio. For unspecified dictionaries field, choose meaning. And then here you want to choose Forvo and then put that to word audio, hit add. And then you also want to go to Google Images and choose image and hit add. And once you have it exactly like this, then you want to hit save. And also make sure that add cards with Japanese readings, as well as Japanese readings on edit is selected. Make sure that the Forvo language is set to Japanese, and you probably want to set the Google image search region to Japan, because that way the Google image search results will be more relevant. So then you want to hit apply. And after that, the MI dictionary should be all set up. So to bring up the MI dictionary, you use the hotkey Control W, and this is what it looks like. And so to search, first of all, you want to select your dictionary group. So I'm going to select Japanese, that's the one we made before. And then, for example, if we wanted to search Nihongo, you just type it in and either hit enter or click this button. Now, if we're on exact, it's going to search things that match our search query exactly. But we can also set it to forward, in which case it's going to search everything that starts with our search query. So whether or not you want to use forward or exact probably depends on the context. You'll probably be switching back and forth between those. There's also a bunch of other different options here, but they're probably not going to be that useful to you in most cases. Now, this is probably a good time to note that just like the MI Japanese add-on, the MI Dictionary add-on has many features, many more than I can cover here. And so if you want to learn more about the MI Dictionary add-on, its other features and how to use them, then on the MI Dictionary webpage, you can scroll down to usage guide. And again, just like with the MI Japanese add-on, there is a usage guide on the MI website, which covers everything that you could ever want to know about the add-on. So yeah, if you want to know about what these other search modes are and what all these other buttons and stuff are, then go ahead and check that out. And otherwise, I'm just going to be showing you the bare minimum for this video. So yeah, let's see. So yeah, we can see that we added Forvo.
日本語
And we're going to be able to add these to our cards. And then we also have Google Images here. And you can click this button to load more. So these are the basics of the add-on itself. Now, another feature of MI Dictionary is the card exporter. And this is what we're going to be used to generate the cards. So I'm going to be showing you how to use this a little bit later on once we have the other pieces of this setup all set up. So that is about it for Anki setup. Okay, so now we're going to download and install ShareX, which is a program that will allow us to grab images and audio in real time from whatever we're watching and quickly put them onto Anki cards. So ShareX is a really powerful free program, but it's only available for Windows. So if you're on Linux or a Mac, then you're going to have to find an alternative. But like I said, this video is just really specified to Windows machines so that I could show people who are learning Japanese and using Windows exactly how to set up this workflow. So I'll try to put some ShareX alternatives in the description for Mac users or Linux users, but I can't really guarantee their quality or help you with the setup because I have only used a Windows machine myself. So in order to install ShareX, just go ahead and hit download and then install it as you would any other normal program. So once you have it here, then there's a couple things we want to do to get things set up. So first of all, let's just change the path which it's going to save files to. So go to application settings and then paths, and then check off this folder, use custom screenshots folder, and then create a folder somewhere on your computer where you want the screenshots to be saved. So I actually have them being saved to this temp folder right here on my desktop. So this is where all the audio files and images that I take with ShareX get automatically sent to. And the reason why I call it temp is because basically I'm only saving images and audio files in order to then go ahead and put them on Anki cards. And once I have put them on an Anki card, I no longer need the original files anymore. So I just have them go to this temp folder, and every once in a while I'll just delete the temp folder because I don't actually need to keep any of the files inside of it. So if you want, you can do it how I do it and just make a temp folder on your desktop or somewhere else on your computer, and then tell ShareX to send pictures to that folder. So once you've set up the path, then we're going to want to set up two different hotkeys, one for images and one for audio. So to set up a hotkey, then go to hotkey settings and then go to add. And so first, let's go ahead and do the one for images. So for task, you want to go to screen capture, and then capture region transparent, and then check this box, override capture settings. And basically you want it so that you have save image to file and then copy image to clipboard. So make sure that you have these two selected and you don't have any other ones. If upload image to host is selected, make sure you unselect that. And then after that, we also want to go over to image and then click override image settings and just change it from a PNG to a JPEG, so that we are taking images that are at a lower resolution and therefore have a smaller file size and don't eat up so much space on Anki Web. So once you've done that, then you want to go ahead and exit and then click where it says none and choose your hotkey. So this is going to be for taking pictures. You can set it to whatever hotkey you want. For the sake of this video, I'll just set it to F6. So now we can see that when I hit F6, I'm going to enter this mode where I can take a screenshot. Actually, I don't know how much OBS is going to capture of this, but basically you can just take a screenshot of any size you want, and as soon as you let go, it automatically saves it as a file into your directory, wherever you told it to save the files to. So the cool thing is, if I have Anki open, and for example I go to add card, I can just use the hotkey right here to quickly grab an image of whatever size I want of anything on the screen. And as soon as I let go, it's going to save it and copy it to my clipboard so that I can immediately go over to Anki and just do Control V, and it's going to paste that image inside of the field. And if you want to know how I'm resizing it right here, I'm actually doing this with the MI Editor add-on, but that's kind of beyond the scope of this video. So that is how you're going to capture pictures. Now let's do another one for capturing audio. So go ahead and hit add, and then this time go to task, screen record, and then start stop screen recording using active window region. And then hit the override capture settings. And then for this one, you want to have it to save image to file, and then also copy file to clipboard. So make sure that these two are selected and none of the other ones. And after that, you want to go over to capture and then click this button, override capture settings right here. Then go to screen recorder and click on screen recorder options. And then here, first you want to hit this download button, and it's going to download FFmpeg, which is a thing for converting files, and it's necessary for setting this up properly. And then after that, for video source, select none. For audio source, select virtual audio capture, which should be there after you download FFmpeg. And then for audio codec, choose MP3. And then you should be good. So you can close it, close this, and then set this hotkey to wherever you want it to be. So for this one, I'll set it to F7. And to set it, you just click this button once and then click whatever you want the hotkey to be. So now, whenever I press F7, it's gonna start recording whatever sound is coming out of my computer itself. And then when I hit F7 again, it's gonna stop recording, save it to a file, and then copy that file to my clipboard so that I can just paste it into wherever I want on the card. So here, this audio file is gonna be just a blank file with no sound recorded because no sound was coming out of my computer. But I'm gonna show you guys in a little bit how you can use this to record the audio from Netflix and then put that quickly onto a card. So that is the setup for ShareX. Okay, so next we're going to install the Chrome extension called Language Learning with Netflix. So this is a free extension that's going to allow us to learn our target language from Netflix much more effectively, and you'll see why in a few moments. Now, like I just said, Language Learning from Netflix is free. Now, they do have a paid version of the extension that has more features, but you do not need any of the paid features. In fact, I don't think the paid features are useful at all. So this whole setup is not going to cost you any money. So anyway, let's go ahead and install it. So I'm just going to click Add to Chrome, click Add Extension. And then it's going to have this little pop-up here with the instructions, but I'll show you how to do everything that you're going to need. So once it's installed, go ahead and start a target language show, or a show that has target language audio and subtitles. So let's just go to Japan Sings, because this is one that has Japanese subtitles even without a VPN. So I guess we need to refresh the page after reinstalling, or after installing the extension. So here it's going to say select your native language, choose English. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like immediately after installing the add-on. Let me just extend it out a little bit here. So there's a few settings that we're going to want to change. So first of all, we see that there's like Romaji, which we definitely don't want. And so let's just go to the settings, which you can access right here. And we'll just go through what I recommend to be the settings that is best to use. So for vocabulary highlighting, just keep it as disabled. We don't need that. For force original tracks, turn that off. For show transliterations, I'd say just no transliterations. For translations language, you probably want it to be in English. Keep on show human translation, but for hide subtitles, put hide translations. Playback speed normal, highlight saved words, no. Show subtitles control, that's fine. Hide playback bar, that's fine. For on mouse hover, do nothing. On left click, do nothing. On right click, do nothing. We don't want any of these features. Show subtitle list view. Yeah, we want that. I think that's this thing. Show subtitles below video. I prefer to have this off. Basically, you can choose to have the subtitles always below the video, like this, or you can have it more like how it is by default, where it's just on top of the video. So that's going to make the video itself bigger. So I prefer this mode. And override arrow keys, yes. And so yeah, everything was fine. So this is how you want to set it up, and it's going to make it so that, oh yeah, last thing, make sure you turn on the AP, the automatically pause, on, because that way it's going to pause after each subtitle line. So this way we can see that by default, it's going to just show the Japanese line. And then if we hover over below the Japanese line, it will show the English. So this way we will only see the English when we need it, and we can try to first understand the Japanese before we rely on the English translation. So I think when you're at the beginning of the process, having the English translation can be useful, but again, you don't want to rely on it. You want to first see if you can understand it with just the Japanese, and only then look at the English. And once you start to get past the beginner stage, you want to completely remove the English and try to be understanding everything entirely in Japanese. And also, you'll notice that, yeah, because we turned on this automatically pause mode, after each subtitle line, the show will automatically be paused. And I think this is really good for the beginning stages of the process, because otherwise the subtitle lines are going to be going by too fast for you to keep up with, and this is going to make it hard to learn from. So yeah, I think it's better to have it automatically pause after each subtitle line so that you can take your time and spend as much time as you want understanding the line, and that way you won't feel rushed and you'll be able to learn more effectively. So this is all the setup for the Language Learning with Netflix extension, and now we only have one more thing to install, which is Yomichan. So there is a built-in dictionary within Language Learning with Netflix. We already turned it off manually, but there is a built-in dictionary where you can click on a word and get a definition, but I don't think the dictionary is very good. Also, it's limited because it doesn't let you change the parsing, and I don't think the parser is very good with Japanese. And so we're going to install our own pop-up dictionary, which is Yomichan, which is going to give us a lot more flexibility when looking up words inside of subtitle lines. Okay, so the last thing that we need to set up in order to use this workflow is Yomichan. So this is basically just a very versatile pop-up dictionary where you can install your own dictionaries and use them to look up Japanese inside of your browser. So I'll put the link in the description, of course, and now let's go ahead and just add it to Chrome. And so now we have to actually install some dictionaries. So I'm going to go to Yomichan here, click on the gear, and now let's see, we got to scroll down. And for most of these, I'm just going to keep all the options by default. But you want to scroll down to dictionaries and then hit import dictionary. And this is where we're going to use this jmdict.zip file from before. So I'm going to go and maneuver to my desktop, select jmdict English. So now it might take a little while to import the first time. And also, if you want to install monolingual dictionaries as well, remember that I have that video on my channel that's going to be linked in the description about how to get monolingual dictionaries for Yomichan. So here I'll just fast forward to when the import completes. Okay, so now if we go back to Netflix and load back up Japan Syncs. So the way that Yomichan works is that if you hold down Shift and then hover over a word, it will automatically look it up in this little window. And it's pretty powerful because it can actually handle conjugation. So this word right here, oite, is the te form of oku. And we can see that if we hold down Shift and hover over it, it's able to deconjugate the word and find its base form, oku. And it tells us even here that it's in te form. So this is what's really powerful about Yomichan. And to contrast it to the built-in pop-up dictionary, we can see that although we turned off the Language Learning with Netflix pop-up dictionary, it still has these kind of blue highlights here. And these blue highlights are supposed to represent the individual words within the sentence. We can see that, like for here, it gets it right, bukatsu no minna o, but then it thinks that oi is a word right here, and then it thinks that like ki is a word, and cha is a word, and ta is a word. So we can see it's not really good at handling conjugations, and because of this, it's going to allow us to not be able to look up all the words that are actually appearing in the sentence. So that's why instead of just using the default pop-up dictionary, we went ahead and installed Yomichan. So we don't actually need Yomichan for the card creation process. We're just going to be using it to look up words while we're watching so that we can understand more and pick up some more words just through osmosis without even making Anki cards, and also determine whether a sentence would be a good sentence to turn into an Anki card. So yeah, Yomichan does have a feature where you can directly create Anki cards through the extension itself, but I think that using the MI Japanese add-on actually is overall going to be a more quick and efficient workflow. So that's why we're not actually going to be using the built-in Yomichan card creation feature. Now, we have everything we need at this point to set up the workflow, but there's one other kind of optional thing you can do, which is get a VPN, which will allow you to access more Japanese Netflix content. So I personally have been using NordVPN. It's not perfect. Sometimes the connection is fast, sometimes it's kind of slow, but there are a lot of Japanese servers, and usually there's at least one server that will be able to trick Netflix into thinking that you're located in Japan. So if I go over to Japan, it's going to connect to the server. And now if I go back to Netflix and go back and refresh, we should find that there's much more Japanese content, and especially there's a lot more Japanese content with Japanese subtitles. So now let's see if we just type in anime, then hopefully a lot of these shows will have Japanese subtitles. So yeah, in general, you can expect it to be a little bit slower if you're going through a VPN, but hopefully it won't be so bad that it seriously gets in the way of learning. So yeah, cool. We see we got the Japanese Netflix on this show. And so this means that Netflix probably thinks that we're in Japan. So yeah, if you do get NordVPN, sometimes some of the servers won't work. So if you find one that doesn't work, then just scroll down to Japan, click these three dots, and then you can go and select a different server. And you can see here there are a ton of different Japanese servers, so there's definitely going to be at least one that works. So you do have to pay monthly for a VPN, but if you buy like a year's worth of subscription, it's pretty cheap. And so if you're serious about learning Japanese, then I recommend it, because there's so much more Japanese Netflix content with subtitles on the Japanese version of Netflix than there are, at least in America, and I imagine in any other country. Okay, so now I'm about to show you how to actually put all the pieces together and set up the workflow. As you can see, I'm now showing you more of my desktop than I was before, and because of this, the resolution has got a little bit worse, so sorry about that. But basically, I use an ultra-wide monitor, which is basically the equivalent of like 1.5 monitors in terms of just how long it is. And when you're using this workflow, it's going to be very beneficial to either have 2 monitors or an ultra-wide monitor like I do. So I decided to, for this part of the video, show my whole monitor so it'd be easier for me to show how the workflow really works. It's definitely possible to do this if you just have one monitor, but it means that switching around between the different relevant windows is going to be a little bit more work. But I just figured that showing you the whole length of my monitor so that I can have all the different pieces on the screen at once without shrinking them down to be too small would just help give you guys a sense of how the workflow really works a little bit better. So yeah, sorry that the resolution is smaller, but I think this will be for the best. So the way that I set this up is I normally have Netflix to the left side of my screen, and then I'm going to have Anki towards the right side. Now we're not actually going to need the Anki window, but well, first let me just create a deck. So I'll just say, let's create a new deck. And then what we're going to need is, first of all, the dictionary. So remember, it's Control W to pull up the dictionary. So I'm going to put that over here. And then we're also going to need the card exporter. So to call up the card exporter, open the card exporter, it's Control C Alt. So then I'm going to put the exporter right here. And then, yeah, you can play around with the setup for the windows. Normally something like this will work pretty well. And then I'll expand Netflix out. This is like about where you want everything to be. And so then you want to choose what show you want to watch. So let's just say that we're going to go back and watch the Japan Sinks. So I'm still on the VPN, so the connection's a little slower. So why don't I just turn off the VPN so that we don't have to worry about buffering or anything. Okay, so basically what you want to do is, first of all, just start watching the show. So normally you would watch it from the beginning, and you would, like I said, like for each subtitle line, you want to try to read it. If there's any words you don't know, you can look them up really quick, like, okay, earthquake, for the first time. And then if you want to, you can reference the English definition. Oh, that was my first earthquake. So you can see, you'll be able to pick up a lot of the language just like this. And then when there's a card that you want to make, that is when this workflow really gets kicked into action. So let's say that you wanted to learn this sentence right here. So let's say that, for example, you knew the word hajimete, but you didn't know jishin, and so you wanted to learn this sentence to help you learn the word for earthquake. So what you want to do is, over here on the side, highlight the sentence. Sorry. And the reason why it has to be over here on the side is that because of the weird parsing thing, it won't actually let you highlight the word on the screen right here on the video. So go over here to the side and highlight the sentence, and then do Control C Alt. And when you hit Alt, make sure you're still holding down Control C, and make sure you hit the keys in that order. So first press Control, then while holding down Control, press C, then while holding down Control C, press Alt, and that's going to automatically load up the sentence into the card exporter. Now also make sure that you select your export template correctly. So we want to select the one we made earlier, the MIA JPN Deluxe, and then make sure you send it to whatever deck that you want. So now, once the sentence has been loaded up into the card exporter, highlight the word that you didn't know, and then do Control S, because that is the hotkey to look up a word within the MI dictionary. So you can see there's going to be a bunch of different definitions that come up, and so this looks like the right one, jishin. The stars right here represent the frequency, so we can see that there are other words with different readings, jiburui, nai, nae, but none of these have any stars, which means they're extremely infrequent, which means that this is probably the one we want to learn. So go ahead and then click the Anki button right here. That's going to send the definition to the card. And now scroll down and we can add audio as well. So if we just play one of these.
地震
So this one sounded good, so I'm going to check off the box and then send that to the card as well. And then now we're going to grab a picture and also grab the audio. So to grab the picture, we're going to hit the F6 hotkey, just grab the majority of the screen, and then you're going to do Control-Shift-V, and that's going to automatically add the picture to the card exporter. Now we're going to do the audio. Now this one you have to get the timing right, but basically I'm going to click this button right here, which is going to replay this line, and then I'm going to hit the audio recording hotkey F7 at the same time, and then when the line ends, I'm going to press the F7 hotkey again to finish the recording. So let's go. Okay, so now I just recorded the audio, and now to import it into the card exporter, I'm just going to use the same hotkey as the image, Control-Shift-V. That's going to add it, and now the card is good to go. So now I'm just going to go ahead and hit add. So now if we go into Anki and take a look at the card that we just made, this is what it's going to look like. So on the front, it just says the sentence, Jishin to hajimete. Look at the back. So we see we have the definition, we have the picture, and then we have both the word audio that we grabbed from Forvo, and we have the sentence audio. Now, again, just like I talked about earlier, if we wanted to make this a vocabulary card, then we could go into edit and we could fill the vocabulary field. That would make the card look like this. So on the front, we just have the word and then have the sentence on the back. Or we could make it an audio card where it looks like this. Sentence on the front. Or we could make it an audio vocab card if we fill both of these, so that then it would look like this. So we can see it's pretty flexible. So now let me just walk through the whole workflow a couple more times so you can see how once you get all the hotkeys down, it's going to be really fast. So let's say, okay, we're watching nareru to get accustomed to. So kanto jishin oiって言うもんね. So let's say that you wanted to learn that this is the kanji for Kanto, the Kanto region. So, okay, again, we're going to highlight this, Control-C Alt, look this up, Control-S, add it to the card, and then let's grab audio,
Kanto.
Add that to the card, and then for picture, we're going to go F6, grab that, Control-Shift-V, and now we're going to grab the audio, Control-Shift-V, and then you can actually do Shift-Enter to make the card. So we can see, okay, that was pretty fast. Now let's take a look at that card we made.
Kanto.
And this color has to do with what the pitch accent is. Each color is a different pitch accent pattern. Again, check out the MI Japanese guide if you want to learn more about the details. Also, let's say that the reading was wrong on one of these. Well, you can hit edit and then change the syntax. So let's say instead of kanto, this was actually ganto, just hypothetically. We can edit it here and the corrected furigana is going to appear there. So again, if you want to learn exactly how the syntax works so that you can edit it yourself, you can do that in the MI Japanese guide. And so let me just make a few more cards. This time I won't be narrating it, I'll just make them so that you guys can see how fast it would be. So let's say pen. Okay.
Him.
So there is one, pretty quick. I'll do it one more time. It doesn't. Oh yeah, it even has kidoku already read. That's pretty good. So here, kidoku tsuita. Already read.
Kidoku.
Okay, so here was a good one. So we can see this time this subtitle line gets chopped into two due to the automatic playback or the automatic pause feature. So this time, just for this audio, I'm actually going to turn it off, and that way I could grab the whole audio. Then I'll turn it back on. Control-Shift-V, Control-Enter. So there we can see we just made a few cards.
Him. Kanto. 既読
LINE 遅れた。あ、既読ついた。
地震
地震って初めて。
So yeah, that is pretty much the workflow. Now, as you can see, I'm not putting the whole sentence translation on the card, because although it can be good to reference the sentence translation the first time you read the sentence, you don't want to have the full sentence on your card, the whole English translation on your card, because the goal of your cards should be to understand the sentence in Japanese. You don't want to be just translating it into English or memorizing the English translation, because ultimately English and Japanese are so different that the English translation is always going to be at least a little bit off. So it's okay to use the English the first time you're watching just to get the hang of it, but once you actually make the card, you only want to have English for the words you didn't know, and you want to try to be able to just understand the whole sentence in Japanese. So I hope that tutorial was really useful to you guys. If you have any questions or there's any part of the process that you're stuck on, then just go ahead and leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you and help you get that sorted out. And I also just want to say that if you're curious as to what my big picture recommendations are when it comes to how to learn a language, then I definitely recommend subscribing to this channel, checking out the other videos that I've put out, as well as checking out the Mass Immersion Approach website, because the Mass Immersion Approach is the overarching framework of how to learn a language that I'm creating with my friend Yoga, and we put a lot of thought into how to think about reaching your goals in a foreign language as strategically and efficiently as possible. And so, yeah, if you check out the Mass Immersion Approach website, as well as the other videos on this channel, you'll find a lot of advice as to how to think about language learning, where the stuff that I showed you today really fits in, and how you can improve at a foreign language as efficiently as possible. So, yeah, definitely check those out. Also, if you want any additional help, then I highly recommend checking out the Mass Immersion Approach Patreon, because over there on the MIA Patreon, we have a Discord community with lots of people who've reached various levels in many different languages. So if you have any questions, a lot of times people in the community will be able to help you out. We also have tens of hours of Q&A content, because every other week I put out a roughly 1 hour long Patreon exclusive Q&A video. And there's also the beta releases of new Anki add-ons that we're currently in the process of refining. So if you liked the Anki add-ons that I showed you in this video, then definitely go and check out what we're currently working on and start benefiting from those as well. So yeah, that's about it from me. Hope this was useful to you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.